Hello again and welcome, my dear friends. Thank you for joining me on the conversation. I'm your host, Ryan Campbell. I'm joined today by two wonderful guests from the Friday Night Live program. Welcome very much for being here. Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much for being
having
here.
us. Thank you.
So we have Tiffany Rizzo-Weaver. You are the Youth Development Coordinator. And then we also have Linda Shiery. You are the Program Specialist.
Program assistant.
Program Assistant with Friday Night Live. Well, what is Friday Night Live? What's kind of the history? How did that get started? And what does it do in Tuolumne County?
So Friday Night Live is a California Friday Night Live partnership, and there's 58 counties in California, and we're in about 53 counties. And it started in the 80s as a alcohol prevention, so drunk driving, youth drunk driving, and they'd give them alternative opportunities and activities to do. In the 90s to 2000s, it changed to substance abuse and use and prevention, still with the alcohol component. And it's on its latest shift to social emotional learning and really focusing on development of relationships and self-management, self-awareness, and really focusing on personal growth and interconnectivity of community.
And what are some of the programs that you do with youth? Like, do they come hang out? Do they watch movies? What is a local youth going to? What's the attraction for a local youth?
So part of it's fun. Part of it is activities that are just socially engaging. It could be games. It could be just the youth. It's peer led. So whatever they're interested in, it's our job to give them the framework and to offer opportunities and information that allows them to grow within their community, to make connections with local government, to advocate for themselves in their schools, cultural changes in schools. And for example, one of the things that we would do is like go in if they want to learn about emotions and how to manage their emotions. We talk about emotions and expanding their vocabulary. If they're talking about alcohol education, we have activities that we have goggles. So they actually kind of get an idea of what it might be like to be under the influence. And then we have activities that are gross motor and fine motor. And we build on that. And we work with other areas such as public health and the Healthy Kids Survey to really communicate the statistics and what the impacts of alcohol, drugs, cannabis are in the county. So they get to take those and actually help educate their peers.
Another portion of that, which Tiff just brushed on a little bit, was we also focus on building a community within the whole area and allowing the students to have access to community members and get to know some of them so that they have a bigger support system than what might be lacking in their normal environments.
And is that more difficult now than, say, years past? Because I remember Friday Night Live. So I was a 90s kid. So they had those programs. It's so very different, though, being a preteen and a teenager now than it was then, with social media and everybody having the ability to communicate at their fingertips and potentially be bullied or be, all this whole new layer of issues that the kids have to deal with. How are you communicating with kids through Friday Night Live where it incorporates some of those changes and just sort of the way kids interact?
Right now we're working like anti-bullying campaigns and what it is, what types of bullying happen, cyberbullying, social media education on how to safely navigate social media and the changes and find factual things versus just like thinking everything you see is fact. So we help educate along those lines. And like I said, we bring the education into our smaller groups. We have what are called chapters. We have 11 chapters in our county, which is a huge expansion from last year.
11
chapters
for
Friday Night Live.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're in.
Is that like one per school district?
No, actually, the way it works is we contact the schools. We ask them if they want to participate in Friday Night Live. We tell them kind of what it is that we do. Some of our chapters are at lunchtime, so we meet students at lunch. Some of them are after-school programs. And this year we really launched into doing elective programs on the campuses so they actually get credit for participating. So we have a variety of chapters. We have different models that we work in, and it's tailored to every single school. Our curriculum and what we do with the students is tailored to every school that we engage with, or every entity. We also work with the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indian youth once a week. So we come in once a week. We have our groups based on Friday Night Live Kids, which is 5th to 6th. Club Live is 7th and 8th graders. And then we have our FNL group, which is 9 to 12. It depends on what the needs of the school are. Sometimes we have administrators or advisors coming to us and say, we really need to address this particular topic, such as suicide, bullying, stress management, coping skills, peer engagement, leadership, learning strengths. And we just being in the schools and being able to be present on campus gives another opportunity for students to engage with an adult in their life in a safe space, that they are not being told what to do, but we take their voice and amplify it and use their voice to kind of connect with our community.
And Tiffany, you kind of mentioned the different age groups. So you have, and could you say that again? So it's 5th to 6th.
Friday Night Live Kids is 5th grade and 6th grade.
Okay.
Club Live is 7th and 8th grade, and then we have Friday Night Live, which is 9 to 12.
Okay. Linda, can you tell me a little bit about how do you engage? What's the difference between how you engage with one group versus another group? Like, what are the issues that a 5th grader has that a 10th grader wouldn't have, or vice versa?
Overall, they deal with a lot of the same like issues and struggles. It's just how we communicate and help them deal with those struggles. So like with a lot of our Club Live groups and our the youngest ones.
Friday Night Live Kids.
Friday Night Live Kids, sorry. Tori, our other associate, tends to work more with the Friday Night Live Kids. My skill set is more with the Friday Night Live, the teenagers. That being said, a lot of the younger students, we do more hands-on crafts. We do more actual sit-down like conversations on what does empathy look like? What does anger look like? If we're talking about emotions, what does this look like? Can you tell us what you think it is? Whereas with like high school students, we're like, okay, how do you express it? How do you use it in the real world? Like what does this look like when you do it outside of here, right? And then with our older groups, we do a lot of more like activities that are school-wide, where they'll go out and they'll have like outreach for their school, where they'll do like mental health surveys with their school that they came up with the questions for, and they're asking their fellow students about, or they'll have different projects that they get their school classmates to involve in and participate in, and further explain their emotions and thought processes to the staff that they work with. And a lot of what we do is trying to build that community and giving students support systems that they wouldn't normally think about going to.
And Tiffany, how many students typically go through Friday Night Live
So
in
this
a
year,
given day or per year or however?
So we meet with students every week.
Okay.
Each group that we have is very, like I said, specialized, and we meet with them every week.
Do they just show up, or do they get invited, or how do they participate?
Yeah, they just show up. We tell them that we're going to be there at this time, and then most students actually track through our program through the duration of the school year. If it's an elective class where it's actually a class on the campus, they participate as any other class that they have. It's really important that we also connect with our community and do community engagement activities, community service, volunteering. We've had PSAs. Last year we did some PSAs. But the students, we're engaging with about 200 students every week.
Wow.
which is for the school age that we have access to. There's about 900 to 1,000 students in the school age that the program's designed for, and we are connecting with about 200 of those students every week.
And what's kind of your focus? Are they at-risk youth? Are they the kids that you want to see take the reins and then be the leaders in our community going forward? What's sort of the idea here that we're trying to?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Students from all backgrounds. We want to make sure that we have an equitable experience, and that especially for our non-traditional schools like Dario Casina High School and Gold Rush Charter.
Just behind the studio today.
And Gold Rush Charter High School. We have programs in each of those schools, and we are really focused on making sure that they have an equitable experience to their peers at like Somerville High School and Sonora High. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that Friday Night Live is connected with ATCA, which is the Amador Tuolumne Community Action Agency. That's the acronym. Is it funded by ATCA? Is it part of their programming? What's that relationship?
Traditionally, we are funded through behavioral health under the umbrella of ATCA. And we have Bob White, who is the Yes Partnership Director. He actually oversees the youth programs. I think we've had him on
the show. If not, we got to get him on the show.
Bob, he's fantastic. I love working with him. But he is our leader in the Friday Night Live program. And then we have another coordinator, Victoria Smith or Tori Smith, who is another youth development coordinator. And as a team, we are fantastic. We work really well together. But we are under the umbrella of ATCA. Our funding does come partially from behavioral health. And this year we have an amazing opportunity that we got a grant for $240,000 to focus in our schools on social emotional learning from the California Friday Night Live partnership.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So that's like a big expansion for you, right?
Oh, it's incredible.
It's allowed us to branch out from, I think, 4 or 5 schools last year to like 13 this year.
Every week we look at different possibilities on how we can make sure that we're in the spaces where the youth are to help amplify their voice and help them be on the same level as adults making decisions on their behalf.
Yeah. And we talk a lot, we've had guests with various areas of expertise, and we've talked about just locally in Tuolumne County, we have generational behavioral drug issues that it just comes up again and again. And one of the things people will say a lot about Tuolumne County is there's not enough for kids to do.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing that we have programs like Friday Night Live that can kind of fill that gap and at least say, at least there's something for kids to do.
Well, we're trying to build community partners right now.
Yeah.
We're really focusing on making sure that we are being connected to the youth centers and the enrichment centers and the recreation department. So we're trying to really make sure that there's this collaborative environment for youth so that we can actually work together to build those opportunities into our county. You're right. The Tuolumne County is, incredibly high percentages of youth engaging in alcohol and substance use, and and that does come from generational conditioning. And so we're trying to break that mold. And Linda is incredible having those opportunities at Rite of Passage, where she gets to bring those skills and actually come to the prevention aspects, and we all work to change the paths of these youth so that they have those support systems and the networks and their needs are being met, and we're listening to them, but also showing them not only are we listening, but we're actively engaging them in the things that they need. And by doing that, it's like, oh, somebody cares about us. We work with Dario Casina, non-traditional school, that very challenging, and they feel isolated and they feel like they're the bad kids out of the county. And it's been an incredible experience to see them grow over the last couple of months. We've did letter writing about reflection on the past year, where they were like, what are your struggles and challenges, and what help do you wish you had?
So they write a letter to themselves?
To themselves,
so
to whoever they want.
it.
Yeah, and some of them are like, to my future self, some of them are like to Santa or to God, or, but they're writing these letters, and in these letters that we've read is like struggles with identity, struggles with bullying, struggles with home life. And they're young kids. Somebody was, a sixth grader wrote that, to their future self, that I just want you to know that it gets better and suicide is not the way out. Things will get better, things will improve. So they're talking to themselves in these ways, and it gives them an outlet. And we like what happens in the room stays in the room with Friday Night Live. We are mandated reporters, so there's that line. But at the same time, we are giving them the space to process and cope with some of the things that are happening.
Yeah. And I know, and you mentioned letter writing. I know that you use art a lot to help kids express, and you have an art show.
Yeah, we're really excited about that.
Can you tell me about that?
So very quickly, we put together an art show for March, National Youth Art Month, and it's about the youth experience. So we're offering another opportunity, instead of writing letters, for youth to engage in sketching, painting, mixed media, photography, and poetry, and to be represented. Each school in the county has the opportunity to participate, all youth from first grade to 12th grade, and communicating their experience.
And this one's not Friday Night Live specific. It's not our group specifically. It's all of the schools. We're trying to get as many youth.
So you're just the guys. You're the ones running it.
Yeah.
But it's for any of the schools.
Any of the schools, any of the youth, first grade to 12th grade. We have registration forms and submissions until February 29th. And then from each location, each school will pick 5 pieces and bring them down to the Sonora Chamber of Commerce. And we will have an art gallery and reception on March 9th, where it opens up from the 9th to the 23rd. And we get to see representations from each school of youth and what they're experiencing. And then it's a competition. So, there's a little incentive there for them to participate. But we really want to make sure that we have opportunities for youth to communicate with their experiences so that they can be heard in the county.
And you mentioned that, so you do you take volunteers, or do people volunteer, or if somebody's interested in working with the youth or helping in the mission that Friday Night Live is carrying out in our community? Do you have volunteers, or? So
certain aspects of what we do, for example, we're doing a full real life game of life with Casina High School. And we're going to set up the gym and have them as pawns going through the actual game board that we're putting together. And at when they have to make the choice for career or school, we're going to have representatives from different careers that they've told us that they're interested in. And then somebody from Columbia College, to help, hey, this is what this looks like. These are the catalogs. This is what financial aid might look like. Having somebody from a bank when you get paid to go through and say, okay, well, you have your bills, this is what you have to take this out. You have rent. And if you're not going to pay them, you're going to have late fees, and you're going to have, potential consequences, especially if you're living in a space, with a lease. So we're building these opportunities where we can collaborate and bring in volunteers from our community. And it just adds to that support network for our students to say, hey, there's other people, not just us here, that really care about what your experience is, and making sure that they have access to individuals who can help them along their path.
So if somebody was interested in participating or helping to support these programs, how would they get in contact with you?
We can either contact us through their schools, and then we have an advisor that represents Friday Night Live at each of the school locations that we're at. But we can also, they can contact us through email, or their parents can, and we can help guide them on to which groups would be appropriate for them. And we have ideas on building community-centered groups after school that allows anybody in those age groups to participate in that group specific to their age group.
Talking about the game of life made me think, okay, so this is the refrain that a lot of people have, is that kids today, they don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to pay rent. They don't know how to open a bank account. Do you find, is that true, or is it just that's what the older generation always says about the younger generation, regardless of
it's also
else?
a portion of like our fault. If these students don't know how to do it, nobody's taught them. So we're doing what we can to make sure that they have the opportunity to learn how to do all of these basic necessities of, like with Casina. Another thing we're working on is we're working on figuring out how to start them with a food pantry. And then after that, we'll work on how to cook with the food that they have currently and make meals that are healthy and basic, balanced and everything that can keep them fed. Because some of our students go to college without knowing how to boil water. And not exactly what we want.
And it's also something that they asked for. We at the beginning of every group, we have group guidelines that all of the students agree on. And they sign their name to them, and to create a safe, respectful space. And then we give them hot topics, like what are the topics that you want to know most about? And for Dario Casina High School, one of those topics was adulting skills. And so we were thinking, like, how can we be creative, innovative, and have a experience for them that keeps them engaged, but also gives them those resources. So it's been really cool because we have a big butcher paper with all of the different areas and how we're going to reframe this and make it applicable to the students that we're working with. Points of reflection. Is this the path I really want to go on? Is this the career I really want to do? Built into the game. And volunteering opportunities, voting, doing mail, sending mail out, what that looks like.
Right. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've actually sat and sent a letter to anybody.
So it's just little things that make the difference on, like, we care about you, we're listening to you, and we're having fun doing engaging things with you.
So what are some of the skills that you're teaching them, that like the older kids, where they're looking to whether to go into a job or to go to college, or what's the challenge of working with those kids that you're about to like send off into the world and let fly from the nest?
What we try to do is we try to help them realize what their strengths are. And then we have like career assessments, and we bring in people to talk about different careers that they might be interested in. And we help just make connections in the community so that they can make those decisions.
The other portion of that is helping them figure out how to manage their emotions, helping them figure out how to deal with the stress that everyday adulting life causes, because we can all vouch for the fact that being an adult is stressful as heck. And it kind of sucks sometimes. But yeah, we do what we can to make sure that they have the basic skills needed to be a fully functioning member of society. They should they choose that it's something they're interested in learning about, we make sure that they have access to people who can tell them about what the heck taxes are and why this amount is coming out of their paychecks. We do what we can to teach them their strengths there. So we have strengths assessments that go through all of their different, like how they best work with people and themselves, and how best get their own things done, and so on and so forth.
Well, it sounds really fascinating, and I'd love to have you back anytime to talk about the wonderful programs that you're doing with Friday Night Live and with the youth. It sounds like a lot of really good information.
It's been a really exciting year, just developing everything and having that contact with the youth in the county. Unfortunately, it doesn't always translate to, what? We're working on it. We're working on it.
And that's the thing that to me is so important about these programs, is that so I'll tell you my story. I used to volunteer and work at the Tuolumne County Library. And we would it was a certain segment of the high school kids would always come to the library after high school. These were not the kids that were going to be captain of the football team. They weren't the kids that were getting invited to all the parties on the weekends. These were the kids that were, in a lot of ways, the outcasts. And they would come and they would read, and they would be perfectly safe. They'd use the computers, work on their homework, sit in the corner and read a magazine, whatever. But the point was that there was a safe location. Honestly, I didn't know what their home life was in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Probably not very good often, but at least until 6 or 6:30, if we'd let them stay a little later, they'd have a safe place to be.
Yeah.
And it's like you do what you can. You know, I can't control what happens after the doors close at the library, but at least while those doors are open, I know that those kids are going to be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we want to make sure that they have that safe environment and that they're represented and they can start building the advocacy skills to be able to go into the community and be like, this is what my needs are. I can communicate what they are, and this is what I'm going to do in my path.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, having at least, in some cases, we only have one of us who are able to go in, but they have an adult that they know that they're safe around and can talk to should they
And
feel
look
the
up to.
need to come to. And we can be a role model for them and have that healthy relationship in a mentoring student kind of way.
Yeah. Well, Tiffany, Rizzo-Weaver,
Yeah.
Linda Shiery,
Mhm.
thank you very much for joining me. Please come back anytime.
Thank
you
you
for
so
having us.
much.
And good to meet you.
Nice to meet
It
you.
was wonderful being here. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll be here again next week with another fascinating conversation about Tuolumne County. Take care.